Hey everybody, Chris Matan here, Real Estate Machine Show. Thank you for tuning in today. We're going to jump ahead on the series, and we're talking about manufacturing and real estate and how those two are related. And as a manager slash owner of a machine shop, of any business, quite frankly, you've got employees, right? And as an owner of real estate, with tenants, with several units, and you have tenants, you manage tenants. So I've always seen a correlation between the two, between as a landlord managing tenants and recruiting tenants to your building, and as a business owner managing people, managing employees and attracting employees to your business. So I see that correlation there between tenants and employees. And the point I want to make here, I sent a little teaser email out, not an email, but a teaser post last week about, kind of pulling my hair out. And, you're not going to want to miss this. You're not going to want to miss this video if you are a business owner and a landlord all at the same time. So the point I want to make here is a great tenant and a great employee makes for a great experience. A bad tenant and a bad employee makes for a really, really bad experience. And if you can string together a handful of great tenants, your property and your life, frankly, is just going to run smooth. Everything is going to go great. Your tenants are going to be happy. You're going to be happy. The building is going to perform. The investment's going to perform. Everything is kind of smooth sailing. You insert one bad tenant in there. And when I say bad tenant, bad employee, use your own judgment on what that can possibly mean. I'm not going to dig into the weeds on what the definition of bad is, but suffice it to say, there's bad apples, whether they're in the tenant pool or they're in the employee pool, but there could be bad apples, and those bad apples affect the entire operation, whether it's a piece of real estate in a building or a business enterprise. So, like I said, you string together a handful of great tenants, you've got an exceptionally, you got a property that's performing exceptionally well. You string together a handful of great employees that are working together and collaborating and seamless and, kind of finish each other's thoughts, for lack of a better phrase. You've got such a smooth operation going. The stress levels come down. The enjoyment being there goes up. Production goes up. It's just an unbelievable feeling, and it's a great feeling. So, and then on the flip side, you stick a bad employee in there, and all of a sudden they affect the entire operation. They affect how the other guys, girls are working, ladies are working. They affect how management is treating the overall situation. They're affecting the stress levels. Everything is affected when you've got a bad apple in the bushel. So, I guess the moral of the story is that, people are people. You can't judge people. Everybody has their own ways of doing things, and you kind of need to adapt here or there. But, I just don't think it should be too much to ask to be a good, productive, responsible, self-sufficient tenant, and the same thing for an employee. It's a privilege to live somewhere, right? Yeah, it's a right, I guess, but it's a privilege. If you're going to sign a lease and you're going to live someplace, take care of that place because it's your home. Why should you live like a slob? Why should you mess things up, break things? Why should you be overly demanding? As an employee, you do your job. You are who you say you are. You be who you say you are. And you do your job to the best of the ability. You do whatever you can to make people around you better. You be coachable. You be reliable and responsible and self-sufficient. Control your own destiny inside of your workplace. That's what it's all about. Everybody can be everybody can have an ownership mentality, whether you're a tenant or an employee. Just because you're not an owner, or whether that's a piece of real estate or a business, just because you're not the owner doesn't mean you don't have to act like it's yours, because you can have pride in yourself. And a lot of people, they just don't have pride in themselves. I'm sorry to say, but that's just the way that it is. But that comes back to the whole idea that people are people. Not everybody's the same. Everybody's different. Everybody has circumstances that, maybe somebody like myself is not 100% aware of. Maybe if I was aware of certain things, and sometimes I try to get to the point where I'm aware of things so I can adapt my expectations and my style of management or ownership or landlording, if you will. So anyway, I don't want to dwell on this too much, but if you're a business owner or a landlord out there, I celebrate with you with the wins, and I feel your pain with the losses. And the wins and the losses always come down to the people, no matter what. Tenants, employees. And if you're an employee out there or a tenant out there, hey, live your life. Live your life to the fullest. Do the best that you can when you're there. Consider it your own. There's no reason why you shouldn't consider it your own. Now, if you have a bad landlord, if you have a slumlord, or if you have a bad owner or manager, that's another story. Listen, there's two sides to every coin. There's three sides to every story, but there's two sides to every coin. And if you're dealing with a bad landlord or a bad owner, a bad boss, go find someplace else, or try to figure out on the other way. Why is that guy a slumlord? Why is that guy a bad landlord? Why is he a bad manager or a bad boss? Figure that out. And maybe there's a way you can work through that. So anyway, but just don't dismiss everything immediately. So anyway, I'm done with my rant. That's kind of a rant. It's not really a rant, but it's a reality. And, I hope you guys got some value out of it. We'll talk real soon. Thanks for joining me on the Real Estate Machine Show.